So welcome to this afternoon session on the life cycle of India Focus Fund, which this is the second year we are doing this. We are really excited to have you all. It seems that India is on the cusp of attracting a lot of investment. We have seen a lot of changes last 1 year, and we hope to see them further. Few things here and there, but seems we are on the right track. But before I go into more details, let me tell you how pleased I am to have our Consul General, Mr. D.M. Mulay. Mr. Mulay, may I request you to come here? Thank you. As you all know, that as a law firm, we take these initiatives in order so that India is understood better. We can do a bit of education. We can create opportunities for all of you to meet with each other and network and add a cent worth value. The fund industry began to take off sometime in early 90s, and we had the opportunity of setting up first 5-6 funds, and we developed most of the models. As you know, we are a research-based law firm. Research and innovation are the key components of our practice. And the approach we take for practice is what we call anticipate, prepare, and deliver. That means we try to see what's likely to happen, or we do trend assessment and forecasting going forward 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 years from now. Look at what are the new technologies that are going to come. What are new business models that are going to emerge, not financial instruments, social, political, and other developments. And in that spirit, we host this event. I will again talk a little bit more about private equity funds and other things that are happening in India. But what I would like to do is for our Consul General, Mr. Mulay, to address us first. And as you know, he started with very humble beginnings in Kolhapur district. And it's a story by itself, you know, the position that he has reached, and he's one of the most respected Consul Generals, I would say so. Ambassador Mulay has been an award-winning writer in Marathi and Hindi both. He has contributed several books, some of which have been translated into Kannada, Arabic, Urdu, Divai, and he has a lot of interest in education, environment, and socio-economic issues. So, Mr. Mulay, can I ask you, can I request you to come and talk to us, and then we'll get into more nitty-gritty of today's program. But thank you very much for coming once again. Last year also you've been with us, and we really appreciate your support and cooperation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nishith. Now you know why I don't write in English, because English is the language of business. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me and honoring me in this way. I met you last year, and I'm quite actually impressed to see that the interest in the meeting and in understanding what's happening in India seems to be equally strong. Governments are not supposed to be in business, and yet wherever there is a requirement of reinvigoration of businesses, everywhere I'm called. So it's kind of a new trend. Our Prime Minister is leading by example. I remember when he came here last year, and he addressed the Madison Square Garden, which has now become a kind of a high bar event for all of us. Wherever in the world there is an event which is being addressed by the Prime Minister, they first call us in New York and check, what all did you do? But apart from that, the message that the Prime Minister conveyed is that India is now ready to deal with the world on its own terms, and yet be open to suggestions and winds from all over the world. He has so far visited 21 countries, and in the coming few months, his remaining part of this year, he is likely to visit another 8 to 10 countries. What it shows is we have a leadership which is very, very dynamic, very vigorous, very alive to the issues of the day, and absolutely openly and enthusiastically pro-business, which is not really easy in India, given the complexity of the country, given that we still have a large segment of poor people. And if you take even Madison Square Garden, he, apart from appealing people, business community to invest in India, he had also promised certain things. And not only he promised, he delivered on them. And one of them was, for example, the simplification of OCI and PIO card. Another was simplification of visa procedure. Another was to give people long-term visas as against short-term and limited visas. Today's figures show that all the e-visas that have been issued by India in the last 5-6 months since we introduced the scheme sometime in December, 35 to 39% have been issued to the US citizens out of all the visas. What it really means is the message has really gone deep down, and it's not only a message, one see its implementation, and a very vigorous one. He has, of course, during this 1 year, created a number of catchphrases. These are more to highlight government's policies and spreading easy understanding of those policies. Whether it is last week itself, we celebrated the Digital India Week. And these are actually not merely celebrations, as some people try to portray at times. This is actually to create a kind of a wave movement and what we call in India Abhiyan, so that people get the message, they become part of it, and they try to see where their own innovative approaches could help the businesses, help the government. I know a newspaper like Times of India now carries on its right side good governance examples every day. So what I see, if you are in business and you would know what's actually happening on the policy front and how it is being interpreted by all of you. But what I have seen in the last 1 year plus is that there's a very, very positive wave within the governance, and that is slowly percolating to the states level. Right here on 29th June, we had a big reception for the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Now, traditional speeches of a Chief Minister would be really to all 90% will be devoted to the community from that particular state. But here we had people from all over India and, of course, a good mix of the mainstream American society. And the speech of the Chief Minister itself almost entirely was devoted to the economic policies of the government. It was kind of, he was trying to explain what he has done in the last 6 months, 1 year, and he also had a list of the projects for which he wants investments. And he had very capable officers accompanying him, which explained in detail with PowerPoint presentations and other quick Q&A as to what exactly it means to be doing business in India, and particularly in state of Maharashtra. You had earlier seen a visit of Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan. And similarly, almost 80 to 90% of his program was really devoted to the business approach. And I'm not going to go into the reforms and what's happening to various sectors, but things like insurance, which have been waiting for 10 years for the cap to be raised. Now, that's been implemented. Government is, in the process of liberalizing various sectors. Railways are there, defense is there. Particularly in the defense sector, India-US relations are really shaping up extremely well. This is an opportunity which is generally not discussed in the business circles, but it is a huge business opportunity. India and US have agreed for co-production, co-development in the defense sector. These are some unique developments, but they're not necessarily restricted only to defense area. They're across the board. There are about 40 different groups within the government that meet on a periodical basis and see what is required. There are some issues on the US side, which US has been raising with us, and equally there are some issues from the Indian side that we are raising with the US side. But the overall picture is one of a very positive momentum in the bilateral relations. Prime Minister himself, I think, considers this to be the most important relationship in the sense that he devotes a lot of time to the relations with US, and he wants to see that every possible hurdle is removed so that investors could come to India easily. We have ourselves seen within the government machinery a number of things happening. Responses are better from the central government. The issues that we raise, grievances that we raise are addressed very quickly. So that is also something, because bureaucracy has its own speed and momentum, and bureaucracy is generally supposed to be moving in a red tape manner. But that seems to be really changing. I also see a lot of enthusiasm among the business visitors from India to US and vice versa, because this is also, I see a general growth. On an average, if 2013-14 I used to have about 3 business visitors a day, now I have 5 to 6. And often, I do not have time to meet people because then, if the requests are larger, then one has to decline. And consulate itself is now trying to have a very, very creative, proactive and innovative approach. For example, we go to each state, one state every month within our jurisdiction, and conduct a program called Consulate at Your Doorstep. And what we do there is I go along with my officers who look after passport, visa, but I also take with me the CEO of Air India, CEO of Tourism Office, the CEO of all Indian banks based here, representatives of USIBC, CII, and FICCI, and all of us go and camp in a particular state capital here in the northeastern region for 2 days. And we cover 360 degrees of relationship. We also meet the local leaders, governors, mayors, congressmen, senators, and try and convey to them the current status of the relationship between India and US, how it's growing, and how it is important for us that they also speak about this relationship more openly. They give their time to this relationship more. They also visit India more often. And to our surprise, many of them have not visited India. Many of them have not really, though they all have a large number of Indian American voters in their constituency. They primarily focusing on cultural side of the relationship, attending the community functions. So one of our effort is really to get to them, convey this message to them about this relationship, because this relationship, for all practical reasons, is going to be important, in the regional sense for India, domestically also for India as well as US, and globally, considering the kind of events that are shaping in various parts of the world, which all of you are aware, whether it might be IS, there's the Islamic State, whether it might be other political turmoils, economic issues that are going on. Considering all of that, it's going to be extremely important that these two largest democracies in the world, they come together, work, and sort of try and see how they can, influence the global context better and towards the positive side. India, of course, no doubt, it's emerged now as a 2 trillion economy, and it's going to continue to grow. There would be issues and problems. We are a democracy, and we are a very proud democracy. People now take India and quote India as an example of democracy. It's perhaps the most diverse country in the world. If you take our currency note, see how many languages are there. And there's not only languages, there are scripts also, which are different from each other. What it shows is we have a culture of living in diversity, and this culture is going to be extremely useful for India to do business with the world, and the other way around, for the world to do business with India. With these words, I would like to thank you all, particularly Nishith, for inviting me and sharing with you, some of my views and opinions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. It was wonderful, and I fully echo what you said, in the sense that what I've seen in last 1 year, you may not have seen big bang reforms, but most important difference I have found is in terms of the government acknowledging where there is an issue, they accept that there is an issue, okay? And as you know, my personal specialization has been on international tax and tax matters, which, has been bugging a lot of people. But every time we went to the government, they accepted, they came up with some solution. Whether you look at retrospective amendment, at least there was an acknowledgement there was an issue. And then immediately a statement was made, in future we'll not do that. Of course, that led to another thing, that the past legacy issue came up, and obviously what is called Central Board of Direct Taxes said that, okay, this is a legacy issue. If we do not raise and make it, because take it up, CBI and others will be after us. So they had to make that MAT issue, come up. So even though government tried to address it one way, it did in a sense that from go forward, there will be no retrospective amendments, so they are sticking to that. But now they are addressing the other issue, what happens to the past issues. So that again, Justice Shah committee has been appointed. I have also been working very closely on those matters. We had another issue in terms of private equity funds, the alternate investment funds and other kind of the pass-through status. All of you know about those things. I must have had number of meetings, and the issue has already been acknowledged, and we have been working very closely with IVCA and other forums. And I personally have been going frequently. SEBI included, everyone wants to make sure that the private equity space and the venture capital phase, is given enough room in India. And again, they want investment at a faster pace. So very important thing that you acknowledge an issue, try to address them. I was scheduled to come here day before yesterday, and suddenly Finance Ministry called me. Gujarat government is coming up with International Financial Services Center. Historically, it so happened that myself and Narendra Bhai Modi, we were on a quasi-private trip in 2007 or 8, and we were walking, and at that point of time in Singapore on Boat Quay, and idea came up, why not have financial center? Why India cannot become a financial center? So many of you are here, why can't you come and work in India, and we cannot, can we not make something? So very quickly, 900 acres were devoted to financial services center, what is called GIFT City, Gujarat Infrastructure and Technology kind of city. And 260 acres have been spared for International Financial Services Center. Already it is developed. it will be one of the most ecologically friendly place. It's worth seeing how the whole thing has been done. And currently we are putting in place international tax regime. So I again had some meetings. There is a desire to do things. That gift city would be considered as a foreign territory as far as the whole, so exchange controls will not apply there. Foreign companies can come and set up asset management companies or funds and stuff like that. And insurance companies would be permitted freely to operate banking and stuff like that. So without restrictions that you see in the domestic territory, they will not apply. This very, very bold step, and in fact, it was notified sometime in 2011, but it slowed down. But after Mr. Modi became Prime Minister, this has again been on the top agenda. Hopefully we'll hear something. So there are a lot of experiments going on in India. And obviously there are some things, things are not moving as fast as we would like to see. And like land reforms and many other things which really holding up. But this is a democracy, so it does take a little time. By the way, interestingly, Mauritius treaty has been renegotiated. Protocol has been signed. We've been advisor to Mauritius government. I cannot speak details. I just got a personal message from him. I'll read out that to you. Because until cabinet clears in Mauritius, I cannot talk about it. But, it's going to be a very interesting time. Let me just read out, if you don't mind, a message from Mr. Sudarshan Badan. And he writes to me, "Dear Nishith, please pass on this following message to the audience." So here it is. The Honorable Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance. Good governance has become a key word everywhere. Mauritius has been very open, transparent. Never a situation arose that it has refused to divulge any information when it was required. So it's good governance is part of Mauritius. So Honorable Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance welcomes you all to Mauritius. Mauritius is actively working towards achieving the new vision of financial services industry, that is to be preferred investment hub to Africa. In Africa, investment, I understand some of you may have better statistics, but I was told that from like 0.5% of the total private equity, it has gone to 1.5. So 3 times increase has happened. It's likely to go to 10 to 14% over a period of next 10, 14 years' time. Of course, there are statistics I was told. But again, Africa is becoming a very interesting region. So there is preferred investment hub to Africa and Asia for capital providers and investors from the US. A new treaty with India opens a window of opportunities. It brings certainty, predictability, and new development opportunities for central headquartering, central treasury function, asset management, equity, and debt listing activities, among others. The jurisdiction also provides for listing and settlement in multi-currency, including US dollars, with no exchange controls. Mauritius is a neutral jurisdiction with strong regulatory framework and will also be providing the first international arbitration center in Africa. The minister looks forward to welcoming US investors to the Mauritius International Financial Center. So I think this is a small message from the minister. So let us see what is in store for us. Not to talk too much at this point in time, but there are some developments happening. I think all countries are moving toward transparency, and that's the new world order going to be. I know that you are all waiting to have more discussions around, and what I thought it would be useful to have next panel also join us. Mr. Mulay, would you be able to remain, or you need to go? So I really want to thank you for coming and opening this. Really appreciate. Thank you. And may I offer a small memento? Yeah. Yes. Thank you. You've been always very nice. Sir, sometimes we hear about the consularization and a post-movement process. That is where sometimes people want some help. and we can improve on that. That will be small thing that I would just say, yeah, that will be good. Yes, but otherwise, I think things are moving in the right direction, and I'm so happy that you're at the forefront of that. Thank you. Thank you.